Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 298. We are joined by a very special guest today, who we're recording at 2 p.m. and I think I saw him at about 1:05 p.m. and then I sort of said, right, I'll see you in an hour online. And because we're joined by James Crozier from J.C Performance Coaching. And James is someone I've known for probably about 3 years, I think now. And he's based his kind of in-person coaching business for just over the last year out of Unique Results. But he's a very, very experienced person within the kind of the strength world, and has been kind of lifting, competing, coaching for around about the 25-year mark. So he's got lots and lots of experience that we can talk about today. How are you doing, James? You okay?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Excellent. Yeah. So we are gonna find a little bit out about yourself. Obviously, like I say, your own training and your own competitive background, and then obviously more like now, I presume, your own coaching, your own business, and your own kind of philosophy around training with all of your experience that you've got. So, so I suppose really maybe to kick off, do you want to? I think you're maybe a little bit younger than me and Pete, but you're in your 40s. Is that right?
I am, yeah, 42, unfortunately.
42. Okay. Okay.
Oh, a little whippersnapper. Oh.
A little well, a big whippersnapper.
Well, yeah,
a big
I can say that because I don't have to see him in an hour.
All right, a big whippersnapper. But yeah, do you want to maybe to begin with, James, tell us a little bit, like I say, about when you first got introduced to exercise or training, and then maybe go into, obviously you've got lots of qualifications and lots of experience, but we'll just kind of ask questions as we go, and we'll kind of take the conversation wherever it goes, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, cool. So I think I've always been into fitness from like a really, really young age. So when I was at kind of through the kind of the school years, I was always involved in cricket. I played for Chelmsford, and we went for trials for Essex, me and my brother, and I ran 100 meters for Essex as well, went into bikes and trial riding and stuff. But then obviously as most teenage boys, I suppose, you get to like the 16, 17, but the weights and all of that kind of stuff starts to come in. So I think, probably kind of 16, 17 started to really get involved in kind of the strength side of things. And just was really lucky, to be fair. I think as you'll both probably agree, we all sat in the years ago and watched World's Strongest Man at Christmas, etc. And that was just like, looking at these like behemoth guys kind of lifting all this stuff, which was, amazing. And, at the time I had like a little gym set and weights that I was doing at home and stuff. And I was probably really lucky to be thrown into it, actually. I remember, so I years ago when you used to be on Facebook, there wasn't the social media platforms there are now. But Terry Hollands put a post up asking for training partners. So at the time he'd just come off of, I think it was his third place, I think it was, around Worlds and stuff. So was looking for training partners. He owned a gym called The Cell, which was just an amazing space to train. And yeah, I was really lucky. Just commented and messaged him, was like, I'd love to have a go at that, as we'll do. I can do that. That's amazing. I'm sure I could pick that log up and everything. And yeah, turned up, and he said, yeah, come down, kind of thing, and went down there, and kind of never really looked back from a strongman point of view. Was obviously incredibly humbled on that first session down there, training with some really kind of big guys. But and I probably then spent, I think, probably about six.
Where was the Cell, James? Where was that? Was that in Kent? Or?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was Faversham. So okay. It was basically it was on a farm. It was like a massive, like, refrigeration unit, I suppose that you'd probably call it. One of the big ones that used to keep grain or whatever in, but it was huge. And we just had every piece of kit. And I think at the time, strongman was still very much underground. Like the actual training itself was very much underground, and there wasn't kind of the facilities there are these days. You know, when you looked at Essex, there wasn't really anywhere that had that strongman kit that you could go and do things. And so I was really lucky to kind of go down there, and kind of from that first moment was just, yeah, was hooked, to be fair. And, you know, train with some of those guys. You know, there was obviously Terry was there, but you had people like Paul Woods, Chris Gearing, Sean Kennedy, and some of these guys were some of the best weighted athletes. So they were like the 105s and stuff in the country at the time. So yeah, it was really humbling, but learned so much. And that's where a lot of my initial experience kind of came from. And then got into the kind of the coaching side of things very, very quickly, kind of, you know, and just loved it and kind of focused on that side of stuff. And then, yeah, it just gave me great opportunity to then compete. Obviously, you know, you're training with these guys, you're thrown in very quickly, right? Where you competing next week, kind of thing. And yeah, was really lucky to then just kind of move through the circuits at the time of kind of all the local and regional stuff. Went off and got into qualified for Britain's Strongest Naturals. Then was again really lucky to do in 2010, 2011, it must have been, done one of the first Giant Lives at the XL. It was just, yeah, really amazing, to be fair. It was set up, and yeah, it was part of the a wider kind of expo for like bodybuilding and stuff. But yeah, never kind of having competed against kind of those kinds of crowds. Obviously, not what you expect today, you know, the 5,000 people in Leeds and stuff, and the big stadiums and Royal Albert tours, but it was still yeah, quite daunting to go at that kind of level against obviously some of the best guys in the country. But yeah, it was an amazing experience.
So when you were like 16, 17, like you say, you were playing lots of sport, like you mentioned, cricket and sprint and athletics and stuff like that. When you were at school, were you academic at school? Were you kind of doing things like PE, sports science, that kind of thing when you were at school? Did you always have an interest in that from a young age?
Yeah, massively. So I joined every sports team at school that I could, played rugby as well, everything. I think the only sport I probably wasn't ever interested in was football, weirdly. You know, everyone loved football, but it just wasn't something that appealed me. But yeah, every kind of sport going. And then, yeah, kind of done through GCSEs and A levels, just was very much focused on sports science. And then obviously done the biology part with it as well, so into A levels. Because obviously at the time it was very much linked, and knew that was kind of the path I'd always wanted to kind of go down. And yeah, it was really enjoyed it, and that gave me a huge amount of experience. And then that kind of led me down to kind of the PT side of things and coaching, and obviously these days now online coaching as well, which is just didn't exist in those days either.
So were you where did you grow up? Did you grow up around Chelmsford, or where did you?
Chelmsford.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was Chelmsford. I grew up on Molsham Lodge side, so kind of
Okay.
it's where I am now. But yeah, grew up on the Molsham Lodge side of things. Grew up in, you know, Molsham School. And yeah, always lived in Chelmsford and grew up here, kind of thing. And as I say, with cricket and stuff, played for kind of the Chelmsford team up at Chelmer Park and stuff. So yeah, it was always local.
Excellent. And then when you did you went to university, I think. Did you do like a kind of an undergraduate degree before doing? Because I think you've got like a master's in, like, is it sports and exercise psychology? I think you did your master's there.
So along with like the coaching side of things, I also had a full-time job in the city as well, as a criminal investigator. So my first degree was actually in forensic psychology and counselling.
Oh, okay.
Which is where it went, and then I then transferred that across when I done the master's degree into sport and exercise psychology to bring all of that together. Because I think so. Back in 2017, you may not be aware, I kind of spoke quite a lot about it on social and stuff, but I spent a little bit of time in the Priory with mental health issues.
Okay, no, I wasn't aware of that at all.
So I ended up spending six weeks, 2 days, not like you count obviously, but 6 weeks, 2 days in the Priory due to mental health issues, anxiety, depression, etc. And I think that very much led me to kind of where I am today in terms of the exercise with kind of looking into the mental health side of things and having that whole holistic and longevity approach and stuff like that. And that kind of turned me a little bit towards the psychology as well of things to kind of really help athletes in terms of not just the competition side of things, but also the counselling side of things, making sure that, you know, athletes and just even just general members of the public are, you know, where they need to be and happy, not just kind of the performance side of things, but making sure we're using exercise for you know, a tool to kind of make sure people are happy and everything else and have that outlet. So
God, that's really interesting because, like I say, it's not something I was aware of, and it's always when we have these conversations, like we always say, don't we, Pete? We have people on that maybe we know quite well, you know, but you very rarely actually just have like an hour just to talk and
yeah.
you know, really, you know, you small talk and stuff like that. But when you actually really, you often find out some really interesting stuff. No, that's incredible. So was that, and that's obviously after. So that was 2017.
That was, yes.
So you already had sort of children then and stuff, did you? And
Yeah.
then you went into the Priory for 6 weeks and you stayed there. You were like I don't know if you wouldn't call it like an inpatient, I suppose, whatever you'd call it, you know, like a
Yeah.
residential kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it was. Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, it was one of those. It was a little bit of a forced stay.
Mm,
I don't mind talking about it. You know,
yeah.
it was a little bit of a forced stay. Unfortunately, got to that point where, yeah, I think as a lot of people, we get very burnt out.
Mm.
You know, we push ourselves and push ourselves and push ourselves, and I think particularly as men as well. I know we're kind of going off topic here a bit, but you know, I think.
No, it's relatable to everyone who's
Mm.
listening, I'm sure. So it's not off topic at all. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think yeah, particularly as men, we find it very hard to talk about those things, and we just
Mm,
kind of let it go, let it go. You know, we'll be all right, we'll be all right, and you kind of front it. And yeah, kind of got to that stage where kind of with the psychiatrists and stuff at the Priory was got to a stage where they were yeah, we were either we're going to commit you or you agree to the commit that we do kind of an assessment. Initially went in for 24 hours, then it was 48, and then yeah, I got 6 weeks on top of that. Each week they just kept extending it,
mm,
with lots of therapy and everything else. And I think
mm.
even during that kind of exercise played a and strength played a big part. You know, there was they had no gym in there obviously, but I remember we had like a little play area there, and you know, with benches and stuff, and I used to go out each morning and just lift the benches because there was just nothing else to do, and I was like, I've got to do something, and there's no gym here, they've got to do something. And I think they all thought I was a bit yeah, crazy, kind of out each morning to the deadlift the benches and stuff, but you know, it's got to be yeah, got to keep moving, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. So like you say, that really gives you that. You've obviously got the. So what year would it have been that you did your masters when you did the kind of sports and exercise
So
psychology?
that would have been must have been so we I actually wrote one of my papers for my original degree inside the Priory.
Okay.
It was I just didn't want to give that up, so I ended up doing that. So it would have just been after about, I think I'd done my masters about 2019,
Mm,
but I'd
mm.
done that as the full-time course. I
Mm.
ended up doing that in a year whilst also working and coaching everything else as well. So it was
So I think you said originally, like in London, did you say you're a forensic psychologist? Is that what you said, or
yeah.
forensic?
So I've done the forensic psychology initially, and then
Yeah,
as I say, transferred that across over
yeah.
to obviously the sport and exercise psychology. So yeah, which to be fair, I still work with clients now in terms of counselling and mindset and stuff as well,
Mm,
which is yeah, really I think really rewarding thing to do as
mm,
well, like to really help people kind of through stuff like that. I think it's having been through it as well, the experience of going through it is yeah,
mm.
it helps, and then applying that to the exercise side of things is really good.
Yeah, because it's so interesting, isn't it? You've got all the, you know, the education and the knowledge about that whole side of
Mm.
life and psychology and things. But
Yeah.
even when you have all of that, you know, you studied it for years, and
Yeah.
it's still when it's actually dealing with
It's,
it, it's something that I
yeah.
mean, Pete, we talk about it a lot, don't we? But I think everyone, you know, you've talked, Pete, haven't you, before about, you know, when you go through hard times in your life and, you know, maybe losing your job or having a divorce or whatever. And we all have these, and we speak to so many guests on here. And most people have had some kind, this kind of struggles in their life at some stage, although it's very rarely talked about, is it? Like you say, I don't know if it's just, you don't know until you actually start talking about it. But
I'm more interested. I mean, this was going deeper into it, but I'm more interested in what people have done, what people do, because therapy's there and it's great, but it's not like the solution. It's just the thing to get you through. This is what I think anyway, to get you through that, but then you need to get beyond it. And then it's like, right, where do I go from here? Because you can look back and see how you got there, and it's which is all great. But if you keep dwelling on that, it's going to keep you there, isn't it? So it's like, how do you move forward? And that's the bit I'm fascinated by, because I think a lot of people get stuck in their own heads of where they're at and how they got there, and they're like, this is it, this is me forever. And it's like, it's not. This is you right now, where you can change it tomorrow. But obviously, it's not as simple as that, especially when you're right in your own head. So that's the bit I'm fascinated about. Kind of like the future vision of yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think you're right, particularly in terms of like the therapy and stuff. It's kind of that initial first kind of almost A&E part, isn't it? It's getting you kind of through that initial kind of struggle that you're in, that kind of spiral, etc. But you're right, there needs to be more. And I think for me, that's where kind of the sport and exercise psychology and helping others and that kind of purpose comes in, like finding that purpose, like what am I here for? What is it that I kind of get up every morning for, and I think for me, that is very much the coaching business. That is like for me, and the exercise and stuff. And I think, yes, it's great to, I look at strength and stuff, and I love being strong and everything else that you do. But I think for me, that exercise is definitely the medicine as well. It really helps. I think if I don't exercise for a week, then the mental health starts. I feel that the mental health starts, not just the physical side, but the mental side starts to drop as well. So I think it's a really important thing for everyone to get out and get into nature, and not just exercise in the gyms, but get outside as well.
I was thinking about this today, because I take creatine every day and a bit of collagen and all that sort of stuff. And some days I'll just forget. Right. And I'm like, that's fine. It's okay. Like years ago, I would have been, oh shit, I've broken my streak or whatever. Now I'm like, it doesn't matter. It is what it is, isn't it? And I was thinking about this because I did a long walk, like a organized thing last weekend. So I didn't eat loads, and I did loads of, like, I'd have burnt thousands of calories and all of that. And my weight this week, I haven't eaten any differently, is exactly the same. And that's from doing a whole day of walking. So when people think they've had one day where they haven't trained and eaten a bit of cake, that they're going to, that's ruined it as well. It's like, no, it works both ways. That hasn't ruined it. You're not going to put weight on. And I didn't, because I burnt like 3 days worth of calories or something in a day. And nothing changed. So it just puts it. So that's like, no, but my point there was like getting used to, if you do miss a session and stuff like that, it's not the end of the world. It's if you make it a habit. But the odd blip here and there doesn't really matter, does it?
Nice. Yes, it's definitely about the consistency, 100%. I think, and I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong. They kind of dip in and out, and and that's why they don't see results, because it's kind of here, there, and everywhere. It's a bit it's fragmented. There's a lot of fragmentation. It's not necessarily their effort; it's their fragmentation of just like here, there, and everywhere, and not really having that structure. I think getting that consistency in place is really what makes the difference.
Because I went onto your website earlier. I forgot to say, went onto your podcast, went onto your website earlier, and was having a look. And like I say, I know you quite well, but it was really interesting just to have a read. And you talk about like the integrated strength method and like your coaching philosophy. And the three kind of words that you use are sort of structured, progressive, and sustainable, which I think is really important and really interesting, because we talk about this a lot on the podcast. But like you just mentioned, if people are kind of inconsistent, and last week we talked about kind of motivation on the podcast, and how motivation is kind of fleeting, it's inconsistent, it comes and goes, it's up and down. But the structure, I think, helps people stay consistent more than the motivation. And we talked about this last week. And the fact that it needs to be progressive, and the other word, sustainable, which again is kind of, so do you want to talk to us a little bit about, I suppose, your I know you do obviously train, people who compete in strength
Yeah.
sports like strongman, strongwoman, and powerlifting, and then you also have kind of general population clients who are training for kind of health and strength and things. But yeah, how did your coaching philosophy, if you like, did that come to you over time? And yeah, talk to us a little bit about that structured, progressive, sustainable, and how that kind of all plays together, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right that it's something that has obviously evolved over time. So you mentioned like the integrated strength method, which is what I kind of call it, just in my own little kind of world. But it's definitely something that has kind of come to me, and I think it's I do kind of and have that proportion of my clients that are powerlifters and athletes, and we've had some really good results, across those different sports. And I think it's for me taking that, because what you tend to find with athletes, they're the dream very often with coaching people, right? They're the dream. They are motivated, and they do stick. If you give them a nutrition plan or a program or a mobility program or whatever, they will stick to it to the letter, right? They will go after it because they have that very clear goal. Whereas I think the integrated strength method comes in with those kind of principles, is that it's applying what we've learned with those athletes to kind of everyday clients, because ultimately that's what the core of the business is bringing kind of really over 30s into kind of the business, into kind of the groove, and kind of setting them up. So applying everything that we've learned through kind of the athlete coaching, etc. So I worked, as I'm sure you know, I was head coach for the Strongman Academy for just over a year as well. So learning everything through that as well. And that was a really good insight, because there I was coaching about 259 people by the end. So we had this kind of so much information coming in from all these different kind of sources and right across the world, really. So I think for me, yeah, it's something that has really evolved, and I think my experiences through all the kind of qualifications as well. So it's not just about here's a program, or it's not just about here's this, here's that, and kind of off you go. It's really bringing everything together as a lifestyle, because I it's the first thing I say to any client that comes on board. This isn't a crash diet. This isn't a quick fix in terms of build muscle, or you're going to get strong in 2 weeks. This has to be a lifestyle and sustainable, because a lot of people will come, particularly the general population, and want that change. So it has to be that lifestyle change. So I think for me, applying everything from the psychology to the nutrition to mobility to everything to kind of encompass that, so there is longevity in it as well. And I think making sure that, as I say, there's that structure, because I think, again, you see, and I've had it before, that clients, I've been going to the gym 5 times a week, and I've done that for 3 years and actually seen no results. I've seen no results in 3. Why am I doing? I'm lifting this and I'm doing that, but I'm not really seeing results. So I think really making sure that there's a structured kind of periodized approach to everything that we do with those clients, to make sure that there is an end goal and everything is structured through programming everything together, and just really integrating everything in, building confidence, and bringing even like the mental health side of things into things, and just really making their lives better. And I think that's and you see, and I'm proud to kind of show that a lot of that does work, just through kind of the sheer retention of clients. A lot of my clients have been with me for years now, as as I'm sure you'll say, they've been there years. It's not a churn of like coming for 6 weeks, thanks. It's that real kind of progression and taking them through, and they see that real value in those kind of in that philosophy, which is which is really proud of. So
because I think when we have sorry, go on, Pete.
I was going to say, what do you do in terms of goals for general population, right? Because they don't like. I'm going to be generally when I'm talking and say they don't know what they want, right? I'm being generalistic, right? But
of course,
don't take offense anybody who's listening. But people don't know what they want. They just want to be stronger. They want to lose a bit of weight. They don't even know. They don't really know what they want, right? They're just like they don't want. Stan John said it. They don't want A. They want not A, but they don't know what B is, or even like whatever.
Of course.
So how do you work with goals for that? Because I've spoke about this in previous podcasts about like you give people something to do and they do something else, or they do it but in a slightly different way, or they don't do it and then they expect you to move it on
Mm.
Just you can't just not do the thing and then expect it to work. So, and a lot of that comes from the fact that they don't know what they want anyway, so there's no goal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you work with that? Because it's not like setting a goal of like, right, we'll get you a double bodyweight deadlift or something, because they might not give a toss about that either. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you? I suppose it's working with a mindset to say like, because it's generally going to be boring. They're generally not going to want to do it. They're generally going to have other things on the plate anyway. So how do you work with people with setting goals for that and like, you know, starting small and building or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's a really great question. So I think the first thing is really kind of spending time with consultations to really find out who they are and what they're about and what makes them tick as well. You know, what it is that why have they kind of reached out? What have they kind of come to me for? And you kind of look at that kind of that generic goal to start with. And then I think for me, the programming then starts to prod at different things. So I think it starts to prod at kind of what is it that they kind of enjoy, I think, because that also has to be an important part of this. You know, he's no good again saying to me, you know, I think a great, you know, double body weight deadlift would be good for you if they hate deadlifting, right? So, you know, I think it's really important to then start to prod in different angles and different kind of realms for them and start to see where they're at. So I think that's where, for me, the psychology and the mindset comes in of really building that rapport with the client, really starting to understand not just what they want in the gym, but kind of their overall lifestyle as well. What is it in life that they want, you know, because I think that can also very much help around what it is that we can do to help. But I think also setting, because they're kind of the long-term goals. So I think some is setting some of the smaller term goals as well, because I think most of the guys that come to me, you know, over their 30s, and I'm sure we can all agree with this, they've got some kind of pain, injury, ache, something or other, somewhere or other, you know, whether it's the shoulder, back, hips, knees, wherever, right? So I think even just initially getting some of those quick wins as well. So they start to see the benefits of the gym. They start to see the benefits of what we're doing and stuff. So, you know, if it's a shoulder, getting a lot of like that mobility stuff in when we're working with them, etc., getting ranges of motion, making them feel better. And I think then as you start to see that and start to pull them through that, that's when you start to build the rapport and start to really find out what it is they want out of that. Actually, I really enjoyed that. Actually, I really enjoyed doing this bit and this bit. And, you know, and you start to then piece together those longer term goals. Because you're right, you know, most kind of guys that come or girls that come and women that come, they don't want to put on, I want to put 6 kilo muscle on, or, you know, I want that 20, you know, the 2 times body, you're right, the 2 times body weight deadlift or squat doesn't really mean a lot to them in real kind of terms. So I think it's also selling that, and also things like the longevity piece as well. You know, what is it we're doing for like that longer term, making you healthy and using strength to do that? Because, you know, I very much specialize in strength. You know, it's not weight loss as such, it's very much strength. So using that to improve their lives and move them forward. You know, I deal with clients from, as I say, probably youngest is kind of at the moment kind of mid late 20s, right up to one of my eldest clients is 74 at the moment. So again, it's applying also their age and everything else to that as well. You know, the 74-year-old, it's very much around movement, gardening, for example. He loves gardening. Okay, well, okay, what's happening in the garden? Oh, I trip over, I fall over. So what can I apply there? Right. Well, how about the goal is, can you get off the floor under your own steam? You know, those simple things like that. So trying to really understand, as I say, comes back to their lifestyle. What is it that we can do to help them in the gym to feel better? And, you know, impact that.
I've just thought, do you get me to do your garden for a start? That would be hilarious. But also, that would be great. It's like, oh yeah, come around and do my garden, and I'll charge you.
Yeah, prove you can do it.
Which brings me to that as well. That's great marketing as well. It's like, so this is we're playing the long game here. I like that. Yeah, you're going to be a client of mine, and it's a minimum 2-year commitment.
It's interesting because I did a post yesterday about and I know that the majority of so it was about the number of older people who actually do strength training, and I look and the most recent sort of stats just for general the adult population of the UK, about 18 or 19%, so roughly 1 in 5,
Yeah.
has got like a gym or health club type membership. Um, but when you look at the over 50s, that comes down to more like 1 in 10. Yeah, so only 10%. And then over 65s, it's even less. It's about 6 or 7%, so it's a third less again. And I think that's the thing, because I was looking into it, and people over 50 and over 60 and over 70, that it's not that they're not interested in their health. They are, but they will far more likely do things like walking, swimming, and maybe like lower impact classes like Pilates and yoga, because A, they're kind of intimidated by the gym environment. B, they're kind of fearful of injury as well, because it's something they've never done before. And then C, they just kind of feel like, well, that's not really for me. And it's that kind of that we spoke about it before, that kind of preconceived notion of what a gym is and who's there and what it's going to be like, and it's not going to be for them. So yeah, I think that whole, but I think it, again, we're probably in an echo chamber because we talk about it every single week. But I was going to say, I think things are changing and getting better. But I don't, if it's only 1 in 10 people over 50 who actually do any strength training, that is a huge growth area, where people need to be doing it. And I know you have, lots of kind of older clients, and I have lots of older clients. And Pete, obviously you do lots of your, I know you have older clients who do the kettlebell stuff, but obviously the walking is a massive thing that you do now as well. But I think that, like you said, you are very much from a strength perspective, and that is, the benefits to strength for everyone, not just if you're a competitive strongman, strongwoman, powerlifter, are kind of there, aren't they? And we really have to try and get more people to appreciate it and understand it, and just give it a go. One thing I thought about when you were saying about prod different areas made me think about, like, and because if you've never experienced training before, you just don't know, do you? So, and it made me think about little kids when you try and wean them on different foods, and you don't know what. You just have to try them with a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and they might like that or not like that. And then they gradually, their taste buds change as they get older, and they'll try different things. And it kind of just made me think almost like that with training, isn't it? It's you just have to try little bits and give them little tastes of things and see what sticks and what they like.
Yeah, 100%. That's an amazing analogy, to be fair. Like
I had never thought about it before, but just the way you
yeah,
said prod different things, I just
yeah.
thought of, just trying little foods. Yeah, it's
It's an amazing agent, because you tend to find as well, like, if once you start to really get into a client or work with a client, their goals also change. You're right what Pete's saying just now. I think it's they come in saying, I want to build muscle, or I want to get strong, or whatever it is, and very quickly after a couple of weeks, like, they start to go, actually, do I want to do that, and do I want to do this? And I think, they, unfortunately, again, drumming the bang one, but with social media and stuff, kind of pushes, certain kind of things and what you should look like and what you should do, and this is what the gym is and stuff like that. And I think they kind of, like you say, come in with those preconceived notions of what a gym's going to be and what you should want out of it and what you're going to get out of it. But actually, there is just so much more to it. And a lot of the guys that they don't even think about, like, the mobility side, improving their lives. The guys, a lot of that I have, kind of work at home and desks and laptops and computers all day and stuff like that. So just even down to kind of like posture and all of those things, kind of bringing that into the fold through, strength training and stuff, is just, as I say, not things they even start to think about when they come into the gym, but start to evolve as you kind of know them, and start to see where their issues are and what they struggle with. And and I think all the different types of stuff out there, like Olympic lifting and, like you say, powerlifting, all this stuff, a lot of them not necessarily pushing them towards competing, but using them as tools. Most general members of the public don't even know what half that stuff is. Say Olympic lifting, they're like, oh, is that a deadlift? Is that like, and they don't actually even know what this stuff is. So when you start to introduce bits, they're like, actually, this is really fun. This is really good, and also you get comments. I had a comment from Matt last week, and he was like, oh, I really feel like I'm trained like an athlete, and like, he's and that's really kind of a big thing for them. It's amazing. So, yeah, I think it's just like you say, prodding and poking and just exposing them to new things, new experiences, and new things, and finding out what it is they like. But as I say, over time, very often that can also change. You push one thing, and actually you get to say, actually, well, this probably isn't what I want, and you kind of change. But I think that's where a good coach comes in and then builds that rapport and connection with those clients. And it's not just here's a program, go off, or here's whatever, and do this kind of thing. I think it's really getting to know and building that team. For me, community and team is very big, and we have, weekly meetings, monthly meetings. We have group meetups. We're on online meetups. We do, the guys all talking WhatsApp groups and stuff. And I think that technology is great there, because the team are always staying motivated, but also finding out what others are doing. Actually, they're doing that. That's quite good. Can I have some of that as well? And you kind of, I think, helping them with that like-minded community as well, I think, is also a huge
That's
thing.
brilliant, because that's what happens naturally in James's gym, I think.
Mm.
But I remember, I can't remember where it was. It was Andy McKenzie talking about this, and he said he would give people programs and get them to print it out. He'd do it online, but he'd send them that program, get them to print it out. So they'd be in the gym with another person who he's training as well, but he's not there, with a bit of paper. And the other person's like, can I have a look at your bit of paper? Because I want to see what you're doing. Just to see, like, number one, it shows that you haven't got a generic cookie cutter program. But also they'll be like, oh, that looks interesting. I want a bit of that. And I want a bit of that. So people end up actually figuring out what they truly want or what they're truly interested in. So I think that's brilliant, because it's not about comparing yourself to someone else, is it? It's about like just figuring it out and seeing them do something and go like, do you know what? I fancy being able to do that, and you do it really well. So I love that. That's brilliant. Community.
I think one that we speak about a lot on the podcast, like Edith, who been training with me for kind of like about 18 years now, I think, like every week, and she's got really strong. I mean, she's in her late 60s now, got really strong, doing loads of deadlifting, things like that. But then one day she came to me and said, oh, she goes, I know I'm getting strong and I'm doing this, but the other day I had to stand on a chair to change a light bulb, and I was really surprised at how I didn't feel kind of steady on the chair, like up do change light bulb. So can we kind of work on? So we started doing like sort of step ups to higher things, and we do a lot of more Turkish get ups now and things for balance and stuff like that. So like you say, it's kind of nice when people actually come to you as well with a real world challenge, like, oh, I don't feel as stable as I'd like to doing this kind of thing. And so then you can kind of look at training and, okay, well, let's put a bit more of this in and let's work on this. James, do you tell us a little bit? You mentioned, obviously, we talked about mental health earlier, and I know that you're involved with, and I can't remember the name of
Together We Lift.
Is it Lift for Life or Lift?
Together We Lift.
Together We Lift.
Yes.
Which is kind of like a what's Pete's just changed space on the face on screen? I don't know. Hello, he's down below now. I don't know. It's like what's that show? Is it Blankety? Not Blankety Blank. What's that thing where they're actually side by side, but they always looked one above the other? University Challenge.
University Challenge.
Stuff. Yeah. Anyway, the charity that you do, which is all you're involved with, which is all about kind of mental health, and you said Together We Lift. Yeah.
Together We Lift.
What is that, and how did you get involved in that?
So Together We Lift is basically a charity that is very much around community and bringing people into the fold of and using strength and mainly strongman to do that. And what they basically do is they obviously support a lot of charities. Is they run events around the country where they get coaches to come in and do it. It seems like a competition, but it's not. So it's a very non-competitive environment where we get people come in, and you have almost, instead of having events, we have stations. So you'll have like a sandbag station and then a log station, etc. And you basically get coaches, and it's all about lifting as community. And bringing everyone into the fold and kind of talking about, and they'll get special guests as well to come in and talk about the struggles they've had. So there's lots of different coaches around the countries that have struggled with lots of different types of mental health, etc. So, and yeah, it's kind of going through their stories. You kind of stop for break and kind of discuss that, and they say, look, if there's anyone here that is going through these bits and pieces, but feel free to talk to us. And then the big kind of showcase finale at the end is a tandem deadlift. So they do a big tandem. They've got a massive axle bar that they do this big tandem deadlift, and the whole point of it is that together we lift more, right? So we, if there's two of us, we're going to lift more as a partner than we would kind of individually. So that's kind of their whole message. And when I first got involved in it, it was kind of its infancy stage, but it's huge now. It's all the big expos, and they're making huge strides, and they've just had some Lucy and stuff have just done one recently, etc. So but yeah, so Liam contacted me. I kind of know him through Strongman and stuff, and contacted me knowing my backstory, because I'd put a few bits up on social media around mental health and stuff, because I think it's important we talk about it. It's not something I constantly kind of, because otherwise it kind of drowns out the message, but every so often put something else. So he knew my backstory and that I was a coach, etc., and had different amounts of experience and stuff. So yeah, he contacted, said, would you like to be involved in it? So I went up and done one up in Cambridgeshire, as an expert coach, and went in and done one of their stations and stuff, and it was an amazing day, to be fair. Like bringing, and it's all about, it's not just coming if you can lift it. It's just about just getting involved. It's coming, getting involved in the community. An amazing day, and just having a go. They make sure that there's kit for everyone. If you come in, we've had kids doing it. We had kids that come along with their parents and stuff like that. So it's just about getting involved and getting involved in an amazing community within Strongman, because I think Strongman's always had a great community. I think that's always been the big thing about Strongman. It's such a supportive, although it's an individual sport, it's just not like that. If I know James and I, you've obviously competed, when you're backstage or in any athlete's area, it's not like you're not there on your own. It's like, oh, who needs chalk, and I'll borrow your belt, and this, and blah, 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 and you all get together and stuff. And even if it's someone who might beat you or whatever, everyone's still out there cheering for each other and stuff. And it's such a great community. So I think it's then just extending that into kind of the realms of mental health as well, and making sure that everyone feels supported in the sport.
Because I think we had, is it Sarah? What was her surname? Fitzgerald, or was
Oh,
it
no, Hannah Fitzgerald.
Hannah Fitzgerald? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes, she was there as well. Was she at the Cambridge one?
She
Yeah,
was.
because we had
She
her
was.
on the podcast as well. Yeah, she was.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was great. Sorry, there's another. I know a Sarah Fitzwater, Hannah Fitzgerald.
Oh,
That's
right.
it. Yeah. It's a nice. No, that. Yeah, because I saw pictures of her on there, which was great. Doing that, which is fantastic. So, what do you think? Kind of as we start to kind of wrap up, and then what's the goal for you? What are we doing now? In the next kind of 6 to 12 months, what's your kind of focus, do you think, for yourself? Because I think that is it am I right to say that you're not competing now yourself? Is that correct? Or
Yeah, I have retired. There's always an right?
not like a Tyson Fury
No,
retirement, right?
just keep coming back, keep retiring after each one. No, I think I kind of so I think there's a number of reasons, really. I think for me, I've had lots of injuries. My training age is huge, and I've unfortunately and been subjected to a lot of injuries around torn muscles and stuff. And my latest one in terms of my foot is kind of really holding me back. So I've had it for about 18 months now. But I think for me, coaching is my life. I love coaching. I love that kind of buzz of the coaching. And obviously I've spent lots of times as an athlete. I've competed huge amounts of times. But I think interestingly, it was your competition at the Unique in October that kind of really got me thinking, because although I competed, what I actually enjoyed more was actually supporting the guys to compete. Because obviously I had a few of the guys do that, and I think
that was when we did the Dawn of the Deadlift. Yeah,
Dawn of the Deadlift, absolutely.
Having
Having kind of a few of those guys and being at competition. So I think the coach bit of it now, I feel like I've done my time as the competitor. Doesn't mean I'll never come back. Whether I do that, my son is a powerlifter, and he's pushing very hard for me to do a powerlifting competition with him, which I think would be lovely to have that father-son, in competition kind of thing. So it'd be good. But I think for me, very much training around mental health, but longevity, fitness, and still kind of going down the strength route and training strongman stuff. but more for enjoyment than probably competition at the moment.
Yeah, because hopefully, we'll do the Dawn of the Deadlift again. Like I say, probably around that Halloween, end of October time. So I mean, you could do that again, couldn't you? Because that's just a couple of deadlifts, and it's more for charity and kind of bit of fun, really. And plus, you could lift a lot more than anyone else there. Anyway. So, not that you're competing, but you would. But you
not that I'm competitive or anything like that. But
but no, that'd be because I know
you could be like the competitive dad. You just turn up and you could lift way more than anyone else. Yes, in your shouting at Edith, in your face, Edith.
Anyway, but because obviously John Valgier. Williams, who was helping to sort of like judge and helped out last time, because him and his son competed, didn't they, Pete, side by side in Ipswich? I can't remember what his son's. No, I've just gone out of my head now. His son's name.
It's gone out of mine as well. But he's a lovely lad. He's only 18, isn't he? But he's huge.
He's and they competed together, didn't they? But I can't remember his name.
Was it Zach or something? It was a different funny spelling of something.
I think it's kind of like almost like a bit of an Icelandic name, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember.
But so that would be good. Yeah, like you say, if you and your son, Jack competed on the same show, same platform, that would be cool. But no, that's great. If people want to find out more, because I know you obviously do a lot of online stuff as well. So you obviously teach in person, like we said. You got most of your in-person stuff in Chelmsford, but I know you've got an online community. You've got people like kind of all over the country and in different countries as well. So if people are listening and they want to find out more about you and they want to kind of follow you and what you're doing, what is the platform that you're most kind of active on?
Instagram's probably the most active one, to be fair. J.C Performance Coaching on Instagram.
Yes, that's at J.C Performance Coaching on there. Yeah, that's great on there. And then obviously you've got as well, your website is jcperformancecoaching.co.uk. But first port of call, probably give James a follow on Instagram and you'll see lots of his stuff that he puts up on there. And then you can go from there. Like I say, online coaching, mindset coaching, nutrition stuff. Like I say, that community of people from all over the world, really, that work with you, which is fantastic. So no, that's great. And then, like you say, just continue to do what you're doing. And I think that the stuff with the Together We Lift is great as well. And and then when we get involved with charity stuff at the gym, I know you'll be involved as well, which is brilliant. So thank you so much for joining us, James, and for sharing for really honestly sharing your story, because I think that is the thing that we just don't really see. I mean, like I say, a lot of people talk about it when you actually get the chance to talk, but when you just in this kind of Instagram or social media world, you tend to look at people on social media, you don't realize the struggles that all of us have, and stuff. So it's really great to hear you talk so kind of honestly about it. It's really good. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so, especially Apple Podcasts. And if you don't yet subscribe to us on YouTube, do that as well. We will be back next week. This was episode 298. I know already we've got Dan John on with us for episode 300. And I think we've got a few more guests lined up next week. So we've got loads of guests in the pipeline. Thank you so much, James.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mr. Peter Lant.
Cheers.
Thumbs up. Good. And we will see you all next week. Until then, bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.